there. Good morning, Indiana. Welcome to Who's Left This Week, the Sunday morning news and politics show for the Hoosier State without all the bad faith, both sides, BS, mega gaslighting, and false equivalency. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I am recording on location in Salem this weekend. Spooky, stormy October, Salem.
We've had 3 power failures in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, the power's been going in and out over the last several minutes. If we cut out, it was not meant to be today, so do bear with us. But we're doing things a little different this week. It's so good to have folks at my side in person instead of over the Zoom. So let us first, before I introduce you to my lovely panel today, go through the normal housekeeping routine. Thank you for following us, watching here on the Project Next Media Network. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you know whenever we're posting new content. Also follow on social media at Project Next Movement on most of the socials. It's Project Next 25 on Twitter. If you have to go into that cesspool for some reason, I recommend you don't. I am Scott Aaron Rogers, and on my social media sites are at HoosLeft.us on most of them, or at HoosLeft on the others. Visit my website, subscribe there, and hey, all right, enough of the shameless promotion. I'm not good at that part. Let's begin. Here.
You're not?
I struggle. So listen, here.
I'm getting forgotten.
to my right side, my dear friend and my host this weekend, Renee Mather. Introduce yourself, please.
We're not close enough. I'm Renee.
You crushed it. That was it.
Y'all know me. I apologize. It has really been quite the morning, and I'm looking at Ethan. He's like,
I'm ready. I'm maintaining posture.
You are like the kid in school who's like, yes, teacher, I'm ready. Okay.
I never got that
We're
chance.
at the coalition and the internet and the Wi-Fi and the well, that's the same thing, but the lights also decided to go out a minute ago, and we now have a website. So I'm gonna plug my website. My dear friend Darian, who's amazing at all things, did a website for us. It is, we'll call it, I mean, it's got some tweaking, but wccommunityaction.org. You're welcome.
Excellent. All right, and also to my left. Your let's see. Your left also, I think, if you're looking at this thing the way I am. Ethan Sweetland-May, candidate for Indiana State Senate, District 47.
Crushed
yes?
it.
All right.
Crushed it.
Thank you.
No.
Tell the good people about yourself.
Thanks, Scott. And Renee, good morning. It is 47.
Okay,
it is 47. As has been noted before, because the last time I was on here was with Michael Potter, who's running for State House 47, and there was a brief confusion. It's like, are you primarying each other when we need to fill up this ballot? Anyway, no, I am Ethan Sweetland-May. I am running for State Senate District 47. That is almost all of Floyd County, Washington County, Harrison County. It's 132,000 souls that need better representation and somebody who's actually going to fight for them. And I'm your guy. I worked on a garbage truck in that area for 11 years. My daughter is born and raised here. I married the love of my life here, and I'm here to fix things.
Very good. Well, Welcome to the panel. Good to be here in person with you today. Let us, if we may, begin with a quick trip through the Indiana headlines, and we'll go around the corn. So this week, the Indiana Farm Bureau laid out its 2026 wish list at its fall policy meeting. The Farm Bureau called for property tax reform, broadband expansion, and rural service funding. The group says rising valuations are pricing family farms off their land and wants next year's legislature to cap assessments. Also this week, the Public Access Counselor weighed in for the first time. After a long vacancy, this position was recently filled, and the new counselor issued her first opinions, highlighting how limited her enforcement powers are. Open records advocates say agencies now routinely ignore requests because the penalties are toothless. Also this week, federal shutdown. The federal government shutdown is beginning to hit Indiana. Folks are starting to feel it. WIC and SNAP administrators say benefits are safe for now, but child care and housing funds are already paused as reimbursements stall. Counties are warning of staff furloughs in the as the standoff drags on. We'll talk a little bit about this later on in the show. And finally, Border czar Tom Homan visited the State House this week. Yes, urging lawmakers to revive something called the Fairness Act, which requires local law enforcement to cooperate with immigration detainers and penalize employers who hire undocumented workers. He tied the measure to national security threats and warned states must step up where Washington won't. Protesters gathered outside while the event remained closed to the public. You think Tom bought lunch?
I mean, did he buy lunch for like the people for like like Todd Rokita?
Listen, he's been known to bag $50,000 at a time.
I missed that hook. That was just in a tight little brown paper bag.
Yeah. So listen. Are people surprised that Tom Homan is corrupt? Like that Tom Homan would do unsavory things for money. He's literally named Ho, man.
Oh my God. Wow. Yes. Taking these issues seriously. No, Tom was everything we expected him to be. I did love the picture of him in front of that banner next to the podium that was like, enforce the law. And I was just like, this is what it's like to be in a Dr. Seuss story. Where you're just like, oh, this is clearly upside down on purpose. That's the point of the story, that it's upside down and makes no sense. Because literally the last thing I saw about Tom Homan in the news is that the FBI recorded him receiving a brown paper bag with $50,000 in it. It's just
Can I get one of those? Like,
a brown paper bag with $50,000 in it?
Yeah. Like,
Renee, no.
Oh.
No.
But
let me get $50,000.
I mean, is
Do you want to
that
supersize that $50,000?
This is the Wendy's.
Yes, please.
Oh man. Yeah, and then of course, follow that same moment, that same presser, of course, our beloved Todd Rokita got up and he said that Indiana's future depends on everyone speaking one language and sharing one culture. Which, when you are in a room full of white guys who control everything, you know what language and culture they're talking about, folks. It was like, I was like, who are other really famous one culture, one language, proponents in our history? And the first guy that came to mind was D.C. Stevenson, the Grand Dragon of the KKK throughout the 1920s, who controlled the Republican Party in Indiana. Anyway, good job, Todd. You're really giving me vibes.
Listen, Ethan. Maybe the Attorney General wasn't as articulate about expressing what he meant that way. It sounds better in the original German. So, finally, in our quick hits this week, Donald Trump personally called Indiana Senate Republicans, urging the mid-cycle redrawing of the state congressional districts. Governor Braun continues to hint at the special session. The supermajority legislators continue to be evasive about whether or not they're going to do this thing. Now, look, a poll, which we're going to talk about here shortly, in a different context, shows 2/3 of voters oppose reopening these maps. They're going to do it anyway, right? Renee, have we ever known these guys not to actually go ahead and do the corrupt thing after playing patty cake with ethics for a few months?
I don't know. They do still have time to do the right
Where is Jiminy Cricket? Just
I mean, Miss Houchin was on the board to draw them the last time. She's just right over there. Should we be like, hey, did you mess up? Was that a rough draft?
That's a great point.
It's
guys,
literally like,
wow, what an incredible thing to admit you did this so badly a mere 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That you got to fix it.
I mean, is that the case? We were inept the first time, so we've got to rush it through now.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of circles to square here.
So we will again. We're gonna keep an eye on this redistricting story. We've been following it all summer. It's been a slow burn. When they tell you what they're gonna do, they do it in the long run after this kabuki theater with the truth. So let's look at a couple stories in a little more depth. Maybe there we are. So a poll released this week from North Star Opinion Research found that 53% of Hoosiers believe the state is on the wrong track. Barely a third think things are improving. I'd like to meet this third, the sharpest pessimism since 2012. Voters cite things like cost of living, infrastructure neglect, and culture war distractions. Now, both parties are underwater. Republicans, 33% favorable to unfavorable. Democrats, 25 favorable to 43 unfavorable, with nearly 70% saying the two-party system leaves out too many people. The numbers hint at an opening for independents, but also skepticism there. Only 18% say they definitely vote third party. Strategists are spinning this differently. Conservatives would blame DC. Democrats are going to blame the state and the supermajority, and everybody generally agrees that things are not going well in the state. So, listen, there's a couple interesting things in those numbers I want to point out before I ask you a question. So, 45% of Hoosiers view Republicans unfavorably. Okay?
Say that.
Unfavorably.
Okay. Got it.
33 favorable, 45 unfavorable. So they're 12 points underwater. Now, ironically, you'd think people have, in a conservative state like Indiana, or at least theoretically, that Democrats would be viewed more unfavorably, right? But they're not. Democrats only have a 43% unfavorable rating. Like, people dislike the Republicans more, but like the people who like the Republicans like them more. The people who like the Democrats don't. There's not as many of those.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Democrats only have a 25% favorable rating, which tells me, that a lot of people who would be inclined to vote for Democrats say, Democrats, you're not meeting our needs. You're not doing what we want you to. Yeah. So that's I guess where I want to start with you, Ethan. Listen, you're out there, you're talking to people, you're canvassing.
It
happens.
It happens.
you got that D out in front of you, in front of your name.
We're gonna make sure we say the D in front of my name. We're just be really clear what we mean by that. But yes.
So listen, I imagine you get a lot of people as you're talking to them, you're talking about your platform, you're talking about your beliefs, and they're like, yeah. And so what party are you in? Oh, right. Democrat. Oh,
immediately.
Okay.
And
tell us about that.
So this was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was knocking on doors, and I came up to a couple that were probably in their 60s. They're doing yard work in their front yard. I came up, was talking to them. They were real friendly and engaging. And then I'm just chit chatting with them as they're working in their flower beds. And then I'm like, well, I am running for state senate district. I'm a progressive Democrat, and you watch just immediately like shields up. Whoa, this guy just said he was a Democrat, which is fine. I mean, I encounter it all the time. We are in a deeply polarized time where we have actually, as a country, been trained by multi-million-dollar propaganda projects on both sides of the aisle, so that people are reactive and immediately rejecting of anything that has the wrong label on it. So I'm totally understand that. That's the first thing we see. But then, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a progressive Democrat, and I want to work for debt relief for you. I want to work for more affordable housing for you. I want to work for more affordable healthcare for you. And the guy just looks at me and says, you know what we really need? We need tax relief. And because, obviously, gotcha, you stupid Democrats, you just want to raise people's taxes to pay for things that people want for free. And the reason they think that is because we've done a really, really bad job explaining how things work, Democrats, for a very long time, which sucks because we've actually done really well on the economy. In the last 20 years, Democratic presidents have done much better on reducing deficit. All these things can be proven. It's just a fact. But to my neighbor in New Albany, that's not the narrative. And so I was like, and so what I said was, you're absolutely right. You are paying too much in taxes. You don't have recourse whenever assessments go up on your property taxes. And everything about our tax system favors people who are making millions of dollars and targets people like you in neighborhoods like this. And his eyebrows just went up and he was like, well, yeah, because it's there. The assumption about what we stand for has to be fixed. And we have to be able to concretely talk to people about solutions to their problems, like the fact that their property tax assessments go up every year without recourse, which you kind of mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Renee, listen, I know you guys were both raised in conservative, but Renee, okay. So listen, Ethan, very very convincing, talks a good game. Is right where I'm at on all the issues, but but doesn't he like get up first thing in the morning and eat babies, right? Like how do you deal with that talking point?
I mean, yeah, like okay, it's back to the neighborhood. So like when I hear the numbers, like I was processing that, we haven't been in control of things. So everything they're mad about is not because Democrats put it into play.
Right.
And so they're like, I'm mad that Democrats aren't doing enough. Well, we got like 3, and so
we have like 12 state senators, 11.
We're trying.
Yeah.
You didn't vote for them. So it's like to blame somebody for something that's not their problem, upset that they're not able to fix it, and then make assumptions. I think, and I'm going to say an unpopular thing, the Republicans have done a really good job at making us
absolutely
look like the problem and the reason for the problem, and also not the solution.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, and this is unrelated to
like
to
that's
this.
what they've
Yeah,
done well.
yeah. Unrelated to this current article, and this is more of a national survey. There was a story in Jacobin magazine this week that talked about like the Democrats' branding problem, and they're trying to figure out stuff like these very questions, like, well, is it because they're viewed as too woke, whatever that means? And no, it's really not. It's because when they get in power, they don't deliver. We talked about this on live stream when when Democrats had Congress and had the power to do big things, like at the beginning of the Obama era. People wanted big progressive change. They wanted Democrats to shoot the moon, and we didn't shoot the moon. And that led right to Trumpism.
Yep.
And listen, of course, there's the racist element. Obviously, come on. But there was a lot of disappointment.
Yes.
I mean, listen, those Obama Trump voters who maybe voted for Sanders in a Democratic primary, they didn't get to where they are because of racism. They got where they are because they wanted bold, and they didn't get bold.
That's right. That's right.
So this poll was commissioned by a new group called Independent Indiana. Nathan Gosch is their executive director. I spoke with him recently. He's going to be a guest on my HoosLeft podcast this week. Expect that middle of the week. But we saw those numbers. People liked the idea in concept of third parties, but it's like only 18% of voters would support a third party. Now, is that because people are locked into their side? Is it because people understand that, given our current two-party system, you're kind of throwing your vote away, as it were, or what do you put that down to?
Me, I think that it is absolutely that we have successfully been messaged that a third party vote is a throwaway vote, which, as somebody who spent his 20s as a libertarian, God forgives, that narrative is very frustrating, of course, and it tends to make people who do want to vote third party double down, and it tends to make people who vote either R or D every election feel very angry at people who don't. Let's feel angry at people who don't anyway. Our voting system obviously needs to move to a ranked choice, right? That's in every example where voters can rank their choice for office, we see a surge in Democratic participation. People are so frustrated with the idea, and you hear it from Republicans, and I hear it from Democrats, I hear it from every kind of jaded person that this is just two wings of the same bird, and it doesn't really matter because you're going to get more of the same. And I think there's something to that when you look at this, when you see the establishments at work on both sides of the party, is that on both sides of the spectrum, that the main thing that happens is you watch them try to conserve power. And whenever you, but
stick a pin in that.
and whenever you would do, if we could do something like ranked choice voting, which is basically, if people who aren't aware, you say, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice, and it weights out that vote for everybody, so that it's like, I really, really, really want this guy, but I'm really afraid this guy's gonna get in. And I don't like number 2 very much, but I like him better than number 3, but I really want number 1. And that enables people to actually vote their consciences, vote their values without feeling like they are necessarily giving the game away to the other side. And that will improve democratic participation. It will improve political choices and policy choices, and will encourage people to actually stand and run on their values instead of just hedging for the team.
Yeah, and it is a moderating influence.
Yes.
It's a way of kind of getting a consensus candidate more than just the way we do things with plurality voting.
Yeah,
with first past the post.
Yep.
It is radicalizing by nature, especially with things like gerrymandering. So listen, Renee, Republicans are unpopular. They're even more unpopular than Democrats. They're more unfavorable anyway. Yet, Hoosiers keep voting for them.
They do.
Okay, why?
I don't know. Okay, no, I do know. Actually, it's not a fun thing to say, but we have straight ticket voting.
Ew.
And so here is, I mean, I know both of you have heard me say this before. If you can't kill the bear, you've got to wound it first, right? Maybe that's
what is this analogy? What is this analogy?
But listen, okay.
They're killing the bears.
They're eating the. Listen.
They're wounding and they're dropping their bodies in Central Park.
RFK, like, yes, it was Democrats. Okay, listen.
Oh,
we're fine.
wow.
This will get edited later.
No, it won't.
I'm asking. Okay, here's why. Here's what I mean.
Yes.
We can't get rid of that with where we currently are, right? Like, we can't change it right this second. But what could we do? Is there another way? Could we start chipping away at the straight ticket voting and somehow lobby or get some type of legislation or something that says they have to? Now, listen, I know not everybody reads instructions, but if we could at least on the ballot say, if you vote straight party, it only counts for whoever it counts for. And
it doesn't count for all the down.
And it doesn't, yes. And it's like, and then you have to have that. So can we get the ballot somewhat arranged where there's a caveat and maybe people start paying attention, and then Democrats, wean them off.
Like,
yes.
I know you want to just hit that button and go, but how about you just do that for half of it? And I'm going to just do it once.
And back to what you were saying a second ago. People don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And so if there was something like that, if we, because I'm always looking outside of the box, how can we undo where we are faster, right? There's a better way. People don't know. They are so not knowing of what they're going to vote for. They don't know that the primaries are, who's in the primaries, well, Trump's my president. Okay, you just voted for him. And that's not the primaries, right? So, like, if we walk them through and explain, this is exactly what you just said to the older couple.
Right.
They're only getting a certain conversation. And if we focus less on the, look at these idiots over there, and here's what you could have this. And it's like, let me walk you through it. Explain like I'm 5. So I will.
Right.
That's my thought is we do something.
So here's
Hard to
Attention.
agree. Hard to agree.
there's stuff in these numbers that even if it's a catch-22, right? We maybe not be able to make these changes until we can elect Democrats, but we're playing on an uneven playing field. It makes it harder to elect Democrats and therefore make these changes. But in those numbers, there was that one thing that I mentioned with the Democrats having lower favorables even amongst their theoretical base.
Yes.
So
yes.
Even if our unfavorable numbers do not change, Democrats have room if to move up. If the Democrats' favorables amongst their base was where the Republicans are, that gives the Democrats a 2-point. Would be 2 points less underwater than the Republicans. We would at least be. It'd be like playing chicken fight in the water,
Right.
We would be on that. Okay. So why is Democrats' favorability in the tank? Well, it's shit like this. You've got not that one. That one. Oh, come on, baby. Where'd you go?
You got it.
Who's my graphics guy? There we are.
I
All right.
Busy. I think he's been busy.
Stuff like this. Joe Hogsett, mayor of Indianapolis, continues to find himself roiled in scandal after scandal. So this week, the Indianapolis Star, with new reporting revealing that Thomas Cook, Mayor Hogsett's longtime chief of staff, he of sexually harassing every woman in the office fame, was in a relationship with a woman named Scarlett Andrews, then the director of the Metropolitan Development Office. So her office oversaw tens of $1 million in redevelopment and housing contracts, while Cook was helping shape housing policy in the mayor's office. So I think they have a word or a term for that. It's called conflict of interest. So emails show that Cook joined in discussions on projects under Andrews' authority. Hogsett confirmed Cook's quiet resignation back in September of last year. As you recall, the city's ethics board has opened a review into possible conflicts and disclosure failures. Meanwhile, housing advocates say that the episode exposes how deep political connections run through Indy's redevelopment machine and could delay federal housing funds this winter. I believe I saw one of my favorite follows in all of Indiana social media. That's Wild Style Paschal up in Indianapolis there. He said Indianapolis Democrats are literally fucking people out of housing.
Oh, come on. God.
Accurate statement.
No. Yes.
So with Democrats like that,
who needs
Republicans?
My Democrat sure feels like a Republican.
So again, I'll ask you, Ethan. You're out here in Southern Indiana. Folks turn on the. I don't know if is your district more Louisville or Indianapolis.
It's more. The Indiana side of the river is very about being the Indiana side of the river.
Okay, so listen. You turn on the local news. Maybe you see the most prominent elected Democrat in the state, the one that most people see at 6 and 10 p.m. running a corrupt administration,
right?
Letting the inmates run the asylum, as it were.
Yep.
Self-dealing. Yep. You can make your own joke about working underneath your subordinates, right?
Lord.
But
he just jumped in.
Yes. Yes.
It must be hard when that is the party branding.
Yes, it is. And I think that as what I am encountering in the comments sections on posts that I make, whenever I'm meeting people at like Harvest Homecoming or at Lanesville Heritage Festival, the disgust and contempt that everyday people feel on a gut level for elected leadership is well earned. And the being able to, or attempting to start the repair, right, starts with taking accountability. And I think that like if somebody's like, yeah, the Democrats are all corrupt, like blah blah blah, I'm not gonna argue. Like I'm I am not here to defend the Democratic Party because, and I say this as a white Christian identified person, a man in the United States. Somebody's like, man, Christianity has really gone hard on a whole lot of people in this country. It's wow.
Man.
Yes, but like my first instinct is like, well, this is what Christianity has done for the West. Of course not. Like I am deeply aware of the harm that has come through the church in its various denominations down through the centuries. I care a lot about that because I actually do have a stake in that group. Similarly, running as a Democrat, my objective here is not to be like, nah, we've never done anything that we should be ashamed of. Like, of course not. And there's no way to build trust if my first impulse is to be defensive. I am non-defensive when people are angry at the Democratic Party. I want to own it. I want to acknowledge it. And I want to be like, and you deserve better. And then if they want to double down on it, we can be like, but what we know is power corrupts. And we've had a 20-year supermajority in our state. And look at what we're getting out of it. Look at the insider dealing with the what is it? I'm gonna mess up the acronym. IEDC, right?
Yes.
$180 million in no bid contracts to Republican insiders, the three kings who control the whole thing. Like, I mean,
no kings.
Hey, what up? And they're like, yes, like,
but she makes a good point. We meant them too.
We did mean them too.
It is not.
We did mean them too.
About Trump. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. But yeah, people don't like the economic royalist insiders that own both parties and
yep.
safe districts
yep.
like this,
yep.
like the way gerrymandering kind of paints
yes.
Democrats into safe districts. Prevents competition there.
It does. So, and I want to say I'm running as a Democrat because I do believe the Democratic Party is a better option. I do believe you look at our history and we do better. We do better on economics. We do better on these things. That is why I'm running as a Democrat. That is why I identify as a Democrat. But when I'm dealing with and I'm trying to address people in the community that are fired up and angry at the Democrats, my first thing is like, you just need to be educated about the Democratic Party. Losing start to an argument. Have to build bridges, have to take accountability, have to be honest. That's how I feel about it.
It's useful. Listen, people like that kind of renegade thing. I try to explain.
I'm not like other Democrats.
I try to explain.
I'm a cool Democrat.
I try to explain kayfabe to the normies, and if you can, it's useful to be able to punch your own party. It is an indicator of authenticity. It says I can't be bought. It says I'm an independent thinker.
Right. Look at me like that.
I'm just pulling you into this conversation. I don't want this to be the guy's show.
Yeah.
But so listen. Those Indianapolis Democrats said, "Listen, what's the problem here? We did what we were supposed to do. The mayor got rid of Hogsett, the Hogsett got rid of Thomas Cook. They did things by the book. Is the book the problem?
Throw the book at him. I mean, some of there are so many words. Okay.
None of which you are using right now.
They're all in my head. Okay. When we say uproot corruption, it is the whole thing. It is every bit of corruption. It is every bit, because all of that sounds exactly like what's going on here in Washington. I know some things, and it's like it takes 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 people all saying the same truth and knowing that the truth is the truth, right? And like you said, calling them out because they have done wrong is absolutely valid. Everybody who is working against their neighbor right now needs to get out of the way because we don't have time for this. Like, even the conversation about it. And I did want to say one thing that I know you asked Ethan, but I don't hear any Indianapolis news. It is not on our television. Like, we get WLKY or WHS 11, and
Oh.
like they'll barely tap into. I mean, it's
The Louisville News channels.
oh my gosh! And so like, I have to actively look for it, and I laughed a moment ago because I literally was like, okay, who is so and so? Like last night, I was like, I don't know who you're talking about, and I don't know what they're doing, and it's not your problem. It's not. That is a information problem, and then we're back to what all do we need to discuss on? Like, we need more Democrats, more people who see the truth, and I guess can kind of prove it. I mean, because we don't need everybody out there just flailing about, but saying, here's the truth, here's what we're trying to do, here's what ignorance is bliss, but it also causes harm, and that's where we are.
Yeah.
It has caused harm. Yes. So the corruption needs undone across the board. Like, it's just like the Epstein files. They're like, well, so-and-so's in there. Good. Tell me their freaking name because I want to know too. I don't care.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that like you'll see. Listen, here are 3 radical left lunatics just sitting around a table on a Sunday morning, with their coffee.
Should have been at church.
And we are right.
This is true.
We're not spending our time beating up on the Republicans right now. I mean, we can, we do that too. But I think for a lot of folks like us, the folks like Hogsett, like the establishment of the party, are a hindrance to making those changes that we want. And like we see the Republicans, we see their blatant corruption and their racism and their sexism and their religious nationalism. We want to attack that, and the center of the Democratic Party, a lot of times, is like holding us back. Like, come on, let me at him, bro. No, they're like they will not let us at him, bro.
Right.
We need to not give them any reason to push back, and those are the people that we need to be supporting, right? So, like Hogg said, like, okay, if what I mean is now Republicans are like, oh, they're just as bad. And when you're trying to undo a mindset, right? Like we've got people just like the older couple, back to who you were talking about. One story like that can undo every bit of good conversation that you had. And it's like, because we're so deep into, and this is back to them winning the mindsets of people, because they've been pushing that across the tracks for so long that one slip up really screws us over. It hurts. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And
but a question for me was this Timmy Blue? Ethan, are you on Blue Sky? I'm not on Blue Sky. I'm sorry. It's the one social media platform I'm not on yet.
But
I'm working on it. I can be. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook.
We'll work on that.
The team is efforting it.
Can I say one thing? The last part of that is that means we need to celebrate every good that happens on the Republican side too. So like every time they do make a right choice, also a correct choice. Yeah. Right? Like if you ever told me that I would agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on something, I would have been like, liar. And yet, here we are.
Broken clock twice a day.
That's fine.
But listen,
perfect.
It's fun to say, oh, hey, look, it's midnight, clock's right. So listen, but I've got another thing on this, and I want to sort of transition. We're talking about how the theme of our Indiana section today is kind of the general dissatisfaction with both parties. It reminds me of that South Park episode from about 20 years ago where it was like the election of 2004 and George W. Bush and John Kerry, and they had the mascot competition. And and you had to choose between like a giant douche or a turd sandwich. And it is unfortunate that here we are 20 years later and that turd sandwich is still fresh. Because we see things again staying in Indianapolis this week. AES, the big public utility there, the electric utility. And the city of Indianapolis agreed to raise residential rates. Here's an insider joke for the South Park fans. About 6 to 7% starting in 2026, while freezing base rates through 2030. Now, the mayor's office calls this predictable stability, and opponents are calling it a giveaway to the big corporate, large utility users. Critics are noting that those industrial users are getting lighter hikes, while households are carrying the load. Friend of the pod, Democrat Jesse Brown, joined his Republican colleagues on the city county council in slamming the deal as corporate capture disguised as stability. We are in a bizarro world when the Republicans are talking about corporate capture, but neither here nor there. So, as it is, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission will hold hearings next month. AES blames fuel volatility and grid modernization costs. Advocates counter that executives are staying insulated, of course, while customers absorb the hit. We talked, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about hey, maybe the city should just buy the utility and socialism. But yeah, and the debate has rekindled talk of public ownership. Once kind of thing that was a normal thought and now seems radical.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, let me ask: 6 to 7%. Let me play devil's advocate. 6 to 7% between now and 2030 is probably gonna wind up being lower than the rate of inflation. Isn't that at least okay to lock in that? Let's play like this is a good deal.
Okay, let's play this as a good deal. Locking in. So yeah, 6-7%. Inflation is normally what like pushing up between 1.5%.
They want it to be about no more than 2% a year. It's been running about 2.5%, 3% lately.
Yeah. So color me skeptical that they are really going to hold that steady through 2030. And the other part of that is that this is okay, and I'm going to own this here. I had a leaking car tire for about the last month, and I kept just reinflating it with a literal bike pump by hand, which was fine when it lost 5 to 6 pounds in the course of 2 days. And at the end of this tragic saga, it was really serious when I was putting 15 to 20 pounds of air in every morning by means of a bike pump. I still have recovering blisters on my thumbs.
It was fun. It was fun watching you.
Yes,
on
right.
the side
Yes.
of the car.
So that happened while we did Saturday on the square here in Salem. So eventually I had to own the fact that I had a leaking system that did not work well, and that the longer I kept trying to put air into it with my bike pump power supply solution, it was really not working well anymore. And I needed to do something new. I needed to get a new tire. I needed to make sure I needed a new system to take care of my problem. And trying to lock in rates with AES, which is this is the same AES that BlackRock was courting this past week.
This
is the one.
Same. Yes.
So we're talking about a utility company that covers hundreds of thousands of Hoosiers, who is getting massive investment from a multi-billion-dollar corporation who is also buying up single-family homes and all kinds of other assets. And they're saying what we need is to charge Hoosiers more money to pay for what we're doing. And I'm like, guys, we got to get rid of this bike pump, and we need to get a new tire that's not losing air.
Well said.
Thank you.
Said. Properly constructed metaphor. 10 out of 10. No notes. Listen.
Did you just get an A+ and I got a C-, right?
Renee, no one is graded. No one is graded. I'm just Scott's favorite child.
I am offering you a chance to take the same test. What?
Not fair.
Well,
no,
okay. I mean, I happen
to have a right and ready metaphor ready to go. I didn't even know I did.
Mm-hmm.
Who do these companies serve, right? I mean, this is a public good. These things should be any more in the year of our Lord 2025.
Yeah.
How are we not in a place where just housing is a human right?
Yes. And housing is a human right. And we should have solar panels on every roof so that we're driving down energy costs.
No, we're socialists.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and yeah, no, but
I don't even know if that's
right?
true. To be completely honest,
yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Housing should
But-
have, yes, things like utility,
Yes.
running heat,
Yes.
water, gas,
Yes.
whatever. Like
You should
there-
be allowed to survive as a human.
we
on this
have
earth.
as a society the resources by which to raise that, to have a floor, a
Yes.
decent floor for everybody.
Have-
With it, that doesn't mean
That's right.
Elon Musk can't have a super yacht. It maybe means he can't have 12 super yachts.
Yep.
Or 15 mansions and an underground bunker in New Zealand to
You
survive.
gotta
the
give up the
apocalypse.
bunker.
Like,
you can have the
maybe
mansions, just not the bunker.
we don't
share the mansion.
we don't need like
Then take the
equality.
mansions
We
when he
don't
lets us
need
in.
like standard issue gray jumpsuits for everybody.
Right.
We're not
Right.
we're not
Right.
going there. But maybe we just raise the floor by making it harder to blow through the ceiling.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Rockets.
listen,
Rockets.
I don't know what this thing did
Okay.
with my other story, but listen, this week we saw this huge scandal down at IU.
Oh man.
So I didn't get to comment on the electric conversation.
No, well,
I
you
didn't
know,
even get given the test.
Jesus Christ, Renee, I'm sorry.
Okay, fine.
We're getting into our.
I did talk to Bernie about this. I worked for solar panel.
You spoke with the
I
Bernie.
sent you a link last night to prove it. I believe I sent it to
At
you
what
too.
time?
Okay. Well, it was like, and it was okay. I know you're moving on,
No,
but let me interject really quickly.
we're backing that
Okay.
thing up.
Bernie, I lived in Vermont. I worked in a solar panel company. He did a energy summit at the college, VTC, Vermont Technical College, in our town. And he was like, everybody needs to get the solar panels and like all of the things. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. I would love to. I can't afford it. And I live in this state with you and I can't afford it. And the question was, what do you do for the in between? Like we are making the in between such a wide gap. Okay. And what I mean is like, there's the struggling to survive and the super rich. And it feels like in between there, that just is getting so much harder to keep your head above water if you were even doing so to begin with. So it's like, yes, and I mean, we have what? How many counties? I'm wondering how many counties. I know in our district we have where Dylan Little, the secretary of the 9th District Democratic Party, is on city council there, I think. They own their power company, like the not Dylan, but they do down there.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that such a almost an unacceptable statement to say that, hey, we should take this. What is the fear that they have gotten Republicans or people who believe this thing?
Right.
They have got them so fearful of letting go of something that they've talked them into holding. Right? And so, whatever. Delivery.
It's
Delivery.
rugged individualism at mass.
You're fine.
Rugged individualism at mass scale, right? This is the story of the neoliberal era of Reaganism.
Right.
The last 50 years,
Right.
of economics is it's things like, okay, well, you want to incentivize individuals to put solar panels on their roofs and make it an individual problem. No, man, we should be handling these problems like at a societal level.
Right. Because it's a societal
doing
problem.
things like
Yeah.
if every government building doesn't have solar panels on its roofs at this point, it's stupid. Like it is a bad investment. You're just paying some assholes like AES money when we could be generating our own electricity and maybe offsetting the cost entirely, at the very least, saving the city money in the long term. And it's not like the city's going to move out of the building.
And to come back to putting responsibility on the Republican Party that have been in control for the last 20 years, they have, I believe this year, or maybe it was last year, they introduced legislation so that people with solar panels are no longer being reimbursed for the electricity they put back into the grid. They killed that in Indiana, which effectively killed for a lot of people getting solar panels because now it's too expensive.
Right, and so this is the dichotomy, right? Of this is the problem that we're talking about. This like Republicans are like, no, screw you, you don't get anything. Democrats are like, yeah, maybe we'll help you if you fill out a form and you jump through this hoop and you and like meanwhile, folks like us are over here like,
Just do it.
Like, am I
And then-
crazy? There are easy ways to do these things,
And then
but
the
we don't do them.
Republicans see a spot where they could get money back, and they undo it and they take the money back. The irony is, in the conversation that day with Bernie, my idea was exactly that. What if we co-op and help support? So if the schools had solar panels and any, like, the lower income kids, for example, those families got the excess panel energy removed from their bill or whatever, like, or it's the farmers or the elderly people who need a new roof. They get a new roof with their solar panels, and you're co-oping in an area. That was the idea, and like, got to talk to his office about it. But here we are, because it's still the same conversation, different day. Okay,
but yes, so it really these are all extensions of the same general theme, really. But this last one, a little bit off the beaten path, but this one got national attention this week because Indiana University, my alma mater, essentially shut down the student newspaper this week. And you know, you might laugh, student newspaper, whatever. These things matter. So what happened? The administration gave an ultimatum to the director of the student journalism program, and said you will not print stories in print in our newspaper, which they're only doing several special editions of a year as it is. They don't print a whole lot anymore. It's essentially all digital. Even though IU alum Mark Cuban gave the media school a very large donation last year to kind of keep these things going. The university cites cost as the reason they're pulling back on print editions.
Did they say if it was a monetary cost or a political cost?
Yes. Well, again, this all fits into the greater theme of Project 2025 and attacks on education in general and independent media at large. So, administration gives the student ultimatum. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna resign, and does so. At which point, the university is basically like, all right, print edition's gone. We're not doing this anymore. And in a rare or perhaps I don't know what the word was. In an inspiring show of solidarity, let's say.
Yes.
Purdue University, their student newspaper, who has, we've talked about this before on the show too.
Yep.
They've been essentially disowned by the university.
That's right.
They have to publish like independently. They're not the Purdue Exponent now. They're just the Exponent. But they own their own printing press. And
Means of production. Sorry.
They stepped up and saved the day for the IDS, the Indiana Daily Student, this week, and printed the homecoming edition of the IU paper, editorials and all, and delivered those. That drove down from West Lafayette to Bloomington to deliver those. Was it yesterday, I believe? So.
Wow.
Important. So listen, to paraphrase from Snoop and Dre, like, B-Town and West Loft together. Now you know you're in trouble.
Hell yeah.
Ain't nothing but a J thing. This is what real journalism's supposed to be like. And so the real question I want to ask is like, is independent media on college campuses in Indiana done at this point?
What? No. The one. Okay, hear me out. There's more than one college.
Okay,
Right.
but with the resources of the university behind them, or are they just scrambling at this point? Are they in an openly hostile relationship with their administration?
Okay, what all are you discussing? Because the ones that were taken down were IU. Like, IU is mirroring very much Washington, D.C. and all of the things, right? Like, it's an obvious, oh, they did this, here we go, we're doing this. They did this, we're doing this. But Purdue stepped up. We've got
Purdue's newspaper stepped up.
Right.
The Purdue itself has not they have
okay,
disavowed.
but were they? Oh,
Yeah.
Were their admins removed? I mean, like we've lost so much in IU that they started unzipping the zipper, right? What other universities are living that life right now? So when you ask that, I think that obviously, yes, that's happening with IU, but we have more than that. And what is? I don't know. Maybe.
So,
well, I mean, listen. This is IU is a very proud history as a good journalism school. We're talking Ernie Pyle. You know, we're talking lots of prominent, important folks
Scott
have
Aaron
come
Rodgers
through there. I am not a journalist. I am a complete hack. I'm just a guy with a computer and an internet connection and a nice set of pipes. But
hell yeah.
But this is scary, and it speaks to the larger attack on education at large.
Yeah, Centaur 7607 has this question that so the Republican government is controlling the universities. Well, Centaur 7607, much like a centaur, where you have half a man and half a horse, they are actually the same thing once the Republican government purges the leadership at IU and puts in a whole bunch of new people on the board that are bronze direct appointees. And even though they appear to be both a man and a horse, they are becoming one thing, the centaur of Republican control over our universities. Yes, I think that's what we're seeing here. The impulse to control media, to quash the ability to dissent, to quash the ability to put out opinions that reflect poorly on the authoritarian takeover of editorial and administrative control in a newspaper. That is what we're seeing. We're obviously seeing it in attacks across the country. I don't know if we have a Hegseth coming up. We probably do. But watching, even as the Pentagon this past week demanded that all news outlets sign a release saying they would not publish any military Pentagon-related story that wasn't directly approved by the Pentagon, Fox News walked out of that deal. Fox News would not sign that agreement and got kicked out of the press offices, along with everybody else, except for like OAN. So it is what's happening at IUS is what's happening at the state level with eliminating the public media. All the reporters that were covering the Capitol and the State House who lost their jobs earlier this year. We are watching that happen, and so I think we should be. This is a 5-alarm fire. When the voices that are putting out the news, that are putting out stories, that are doing investigation, are being censored, controlled, and threatened with having their funding removed and their oversight taken away, we are at a 5-alarm fire.
So yes,
how do we go forward? Like here's my thing.
We need to sweep the elections.
Okay, yes, and when you look through history, somebody always comes up with a solution, right? It's like I knew things were going on here. There seems to always end up being some good that ends up happening, right? I saw what was going on, and I'm like, hey, we need to have a progressive action spot, right? Yep. Purdue stepped up and printed for that one, but what if some of so IU is in the situation that it's in. What if some of the people who would send large amounts of money to the college were like, hey, I see this happening, and until it rights itself, I'm going to I'm going to take my $3 million donation that I give, and I'm going to supply this on the side so that the good is still done. Like
that'd be great.
Right?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I think it's a rare. I mean, obviously Mark Cuban's mad about IUS, but I think it's very rare to see wealth threaten power, or for them to really be on different teams most of the time.
And a world where you need billionaires to come in and save the day is not the world I want to live in. You know, you're still beholden to them, better. And that having a moral center, which is for sale to the highest bidder, typically. So we're coming up on the
We're gonna
turn to the corner at the hour here.
We're gonna
and I want
switch to 40-second comments. Go.
Well, I want to sort of cover a story that sort of straddles the Indiana and national milieu, as it were. So the government shut down. Now we are into week 3 here, and now the first week it's trickle stuff. Maybe there's some money in accounts here and there. People can do things. Government employees are still working, maybe without pay. You get to that second week, and reality is really starting to set in. Child care grants and HUD programs and stuff. They're talking about WIC, Women's for Children, and SNAP program running out of money. So like food aid, that's where it's really going to hit people in their real lives. So now we're in week 3. We've got lots of government employees being fired. Now you say what you will, however you feel about the federal government philosophically, and what you feel about federal governments philosophically. Those are people who have families and who need money to get by. And also, if you just want to look at it completely cynically, that's taking a bunch of money by not having those folks with money in their pockets. That creates a vacuum in local economies.
Absolutely.
These people can't spend their dollars into shops and restaurants and whatever in local communities. So let's look here in Indiana. We're looking at county clerks and housing directors and food bank managers and stuff. They're all starting to feel the pinch the longer and longer this thing that goes on. Again, I'll ask you, Ethan, since you're out there, you're hitting the pavement. Are people that you talk to here in your district feeling the effects of the shutdown?
Yes, they are. And so I'm friends with people who help with a number of food banks in New Albany and Harrison County. And I've also friends with people that have already lost their jobs because of the Big Beautiful Bill. I have a dear friend who worked as a community wellness coordinator. She was single-handedly responsible for making it possible for people on SNAP to use it at local farmers markets in New Albany and in Harrison County. Which is difficult to do because it's using your SNAP card. There's a lot of hoops to go through to be somebody that can take that payment. And she got it set up so people with SNAP could get tokens, go to vendors at a local farmer's market, and the vendors could bring those tokens and get SNAP money. So that opens up fresh local produce, keeps SNAP money local. It was not an easy thing to do. She did it, and her job was cut. And those programs are gone, as well as all the other things associated with that. And every single food bank is sounding the alarm. Everybody that works with the unhoused and with the poor is sounding the alarm. This is not we're not totally sure what's going to happen. This is going to require huge community action to plug the hole in the ship that the Republican supermajority just blew in it so that they could give billionaires even more money.
Renee, this is in a way a culmination of a whole year to this point of government dysfunction, though. I mean, ever since Trump and his hatchet man, Russell Vought, at the Office of Management and Budget, took the helm of the federal government, we've essentially been in a sort of state of rolling shutdown since January, wouldn't you say?
I mean, if we're going to go back and look at the snowball when it started rolling, I mean,
you can go back to Reagan if you want to. That's
I really was there in my head. I didn't want to go too far back. But so our governments are not functioning, and they're not working for us, and they're taking the humanity away from people. And so, how do we replace that? Because I live in a community of people who are farmers, and we've got a lot of Amish folks, and I have friends who raise chickens, and so we create these locations in our communities that fill the need. It's completely unacceptable that we are in this location or this timeline, and here we are. Because okay, speaking to people who are running, the candidates really quickly, Why would you do it? Like here's the thing. And one thing that really makes me upset with all of the judgment that comes down from anyone who, oh, the Republican Party, oh, the state committee, oh, my local executive Democrat committee, they're not. Okay, we're all volunteers except for a few people paid at the top. Anybody who's running as a candidate right now is a volunteer. They are voluntarily throwing themselves and their family time out there and pushing it to the side at the same time because they care enough to want to make a change, right? And so the judgment that comes down on that is, first of all, we all got to quit that. So if you got some judgment for somebody who's doing some good, you need to shut your mouth and be helpful. But at the same time, we've got people who are wanting to go back and try to fix all of this because there is the undoing has been being undone for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do get our voices in the room and we're back at the table, that is a huge job. So not only are you voluntarily giving up all of those things and saying, hey, I want to do this, there it is. You then, when you have the opportunity, you actually start the work. I would not want to be, oh God, I say that and here we are. We are doing it, right?
Really
I'm not
fun.
running for anything.
It's going to be really fun.
But again, it takes massive systemic problems and it puts them on individuals and it makes it harder to do the things that we could do together.
Yes.
It really is. It's government, right? Government is us. Government, theoretically, if done well, is supposed to be all the people working together and marshaling their resources together. But you don't know what you got till it's gone in a lot of places like this, right?
So they're wanting
just counting crows our political problems, and I loved it.
Well, it's true. Okay, here's the thing. They've wanted this outcome, right? And I say they, it's the elusive they that who aren't working for their neighbors. But what happens is it forces unity and community because the communities have to rise. And so what will really happen is in the long run, I just hope that good comes about because you have to go talk to your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You have people now township trustees, by the way, if you are not running for anything, we need township trustees to step into these next several months and say, oh, my neighbors are cold. They don't have food. And here I have the goosebumps. We have need in our community and we don't have enough township trustees running. If you want to make a difference, get on the ballot for that because we can save each other.
One of these weeks, I'm going to do a whole episode about township trustees and how if you're a young person looking for your way into politics and want to get involved, you're I want to help my neighbors.
Yep.
That's a very direct way to help one's neighbors. And so let's move on. Let's fully turn the corner.
Turning the corner
into our national and international stories. And I've given this section a new fun name because I want to look at these larger issues, but with an Indiana lens. So why should somebody in this state care about what's going on in the Middle East or India or China or wherever? So let's call this next section, Who Cares? And we will begin with just, again, like we do in Around the Corn, a couple of quick hits before we dig into our the real meat of this segment. So this week, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire that was negotiated in conjunction, between the U.S. government and some of their allies in the Middle East, did go into effect.
It did.
Is holding relatively, and that's a good development.
Yeah.
We like to see, people not being bombed. We like we don't like war, right? Good stuff.
The bar is in hell, and we put it there.
But
absolutely nothing.
But there, again, this we'll see how long this thing really holds. There are already, some skirmishes along the edges of this. Keep an eye on it. I think we're all sort of hoping that the death and stops over there. So we will continue to follow that. Also
that
this
the
week,
death stops. I'm thankful you
yes, and yeah,
capped
exactly.
that sentence with
That
stops.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
dying bad.
Dying
bad.
bad. Word bad.
Hey, I got off camera. Michelle Higgs just walked in.
Yeah.
By the way, one of my favorite people in the state.
Can I get?
If Michelle wants to tag
wanna-
in for this section, I'd be glad to have you.
Yay!
I don't know if we can fit 4 around our
Don't
little
worry,
table
I'll
and
give
get us
her my
all in the
spot
frame
for-
here. We're already very, very cozy
It's very cozy.
here together. All right, Michelle Higgs tagging in for Renee. Mother Renee, it was good to have you on the show here.
Renee, you're a legend.
I didn't say I was leaving completely. But go ahead. You keep doing your thing.
Michelle, welcome.
Hi.
Good to see you here. I like your hat.
I know I'm sporting a new sunflower hat, and I was at the Morgan County Foliage Festival, and there was a vendor there that they made. I don't know what you call this, but like
leather
laser
medallion.
Yeah, laser engraved leather, organizing Indiana,
Heck yeah.
and so I'm like,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
Awesome. So hey,
Absolutely.
welcome. Well, we're Michelle, Israel, Middle East.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well,
Just invite Michelle in with something, a
Thank you.
softball.
Why
I
does
know.
this matter to
Just
the average
underhand.
user?
Just
because
underhand.
I'll tell you actually why it matters is when we have people now equating Democrats with Hamas
Mhm.
and using those terms,
Yeah.
and we've already desensitized people to atrocities happening over there.
Yeah.
And so they are trying to use the rhetoric to desensitize atrocities happening here. And
That's
so we have to have a
really-
firm no. And it's all about human rights. So there we go.
Another quick hit this week, Ethan. George Santos, the disgraced, corrupt former New York congressman, had his sentence commuted
He did.
by Donald Trump.
It happened.
Yeah, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for all sorts of corruption.
Has it been 7 years already?
Well, no, he was sentenced to 7 years,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's had his sentence commuted,
Yeah,
and
right.
he's free to carry on the grift. Critics call this crony justice. I tend to agree. Ethan, this is New York. Who cares?
Who cares? Great point, Scott. Not that anybody needs evidence that the whole law and order thing is a myth. It always has been a myth. But to watch, no one liked George Santos. His own party wished him all the worst as he was finally kicked out and sentenced. And this decision, and I don't know this for sure, but what I am expecting out of this is that our president is doing this so he can have a bought and paid for loyalist who will lie without ceasing, who has no conscience, and who owes the president everything. And that's what he just got with that. He took someone who has ripped people off, who has stolen, who has endlessly lied and misled everyone who ever worked for him. And the president just pardoned him, and I expect to see him working for the administration in some capacity next month. That's my
That
my
would not
expectation.
be shocking at
That is
all.
my expectation.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of people with no conscience, longtime Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell suffered a fall in the Senate hallway this week, tripping en route to a vote. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen McConnell have a health issue in public in the Senate over the last couple of years. He's glitched out and just like completely frozen a couple times. I mean, this is a guy. He's been at the height of American politics for a long time. Mitch, you know how old Mitch McConnell is? He's 206. He's. But okay, listen, this guy still there. He's not the majority leader anymore, but he's still a prominent voice in his party. Even though a lot of folks have gone further to the right than he is. Michelle, who cares?
So I have a weird take on this. Again, I always couch things that there is not. We don't do elder abuse, right? Don't do elder. So Genuine fault, don't know. I empathize with somebody.
In
But
capitalist
here's the thing.
America, elder abuse is you.
Yes. But here's the thing. I watched that tape. I watched it, and I see a man who walked in quite fine. Then he takes a gentleman's arm next to him to kind of stabilize. And he suddenly, as he's approaching somebody who's going to ask him a question, he's limping. And then as soon as she asks the big question, he then falls on the floor. That ends that discussion. He gets helped up. He hobbles off. And as soon as he's beyond where anybody in the public can ask him a question, he lets go and walks completely fine. So I don't know.
Listen, if true,
Michelle,
dude's 83. Are you taking a dive at 83?
are we
Yes.
saying that's the
For-
most?
for-
Is that
for-
would that be
for-
even in the top 50 most
That-
shameful things that have happened?
that might not go well. I don't know if you would take that risk. So listen. Also, in the quick hits this week, last night the I-5 freeway in California was shut down for over a 17-mile stretch near Camp Pendleton. I want to say that's out towards San Diego. I don't know my California geography that well, but they were doing live fire exercises to celebrate the Marines' 250th birthday. California Governor Gavin Newsom called it a reckless show of force. I would say, yeah, probably not great to be doing live fire exercises near one of the busiest freeways in the country. Michelle, you lived out there for a while now. Listen, this is traffic on the interstate in California. That's just another day in the show, right?
Yeah.
Who cares?
What a colossal waste of taxpayer
That-
money.
That we are constantly being told we don't have money so that my neighbor can keep her autistic 6-year-old grandson on Medicaid so he can get speech therapy. This month it went from $200 to $1,000 because they lost their waiver because of cuts, and it's a 2-year wait list to get back on it. So there's a 6-year-old in my district who needs speech therapy who isn't going to get it because his grandma can't afford $1,000 a month. But yes, let's spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars shooting rockets and missiles into the ocean while shutting down a freeway. Why not?
Listen, some people are very insecure about their masculinity, and they need to pop off rockets to show people how manly they are.
And it's just like yeah. The Marine Corps is a proud and like the people that work there and put their lives on the line like deserve better than this. This is lousy.
Yeah, listen, I'm a leftist. I've got a lot of criticisms for the United States Armed Forces over the last couple generations.
Yeah.
But these are proud organizations that have long, proud histories that do not need to be made a joke
Yes.
of by our government. It's pathetic, and the world is. They're all gonna laugh at you, and I don't blame them.
What happens though when we've got, I don't know, more exercises that are near other freeways? Oops, we need to shut this one down. We need to shut that one down.
This is a way to control
it's-
what people go and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's an overreach.
Renee will tell you all about her grand conspiracy theory about this, and
Mhm.
we had to talk about the origin of the interstate highway system and where General Eisenhower got that idea from. Listen, love me some interstate. Though.
But my question is, if they make all the interstates toll roads, will the military then have to pay for the toll road to close it down to shoot missiles over?
These are the questions voters want answers to.
It's a sign of how backwards we do things. We take the longest, stupidest, most profitable route
There, that's the thing right there.
to
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
find untenable solutions to problems that theoretically are easily fixed. Hey, let's dig into a couple things this week. The big story in I think a lot of political news this week was this thing where a group chat leak among thousands of young Republican staffers leaked and was published. And man, there's some unsavory things going on in these group chats. So these chats show young Republican leaders, and when I say young Republican, I mean like 18 to 40. Okay, it's a pretty wide range. We're not talking college Republicans. It's kind of next generation leadership.
I think young
branding,
professional. Young professional.
Right. So anyway, so this thing leaks. It shows all these horrific, racist, anti-Semitic messages being shared. Resignations followed. There's some donor fallout. The respectable people in the Republican Party called it out. They said, this sort of thing has to stop. Now, a certain Vice President J.D. Vance was like, come on, they're just joking. It's just a bunch of kids, right? Progressives like me, say this sort of thing is indicative of the way Republicans have been acting over the last several years. It really is just a window into what they really think when no one's looking, even though they give this plausible deniability when they're in front of the cameras. Now, meanwhile, the Indiana Young Republicans, we'll tie that back in, right? Who cares? They issued a tepid statement, the kind of form letter that you have to issue when somebody in the group embarrasses you. We condemn this behavior and we can all learn from it. Right. I don't know if you've seen this thing. They posted it online, on Twitter. The Young Republicans account issues their statement and get dragged by everybody on the right for cowering to the woke mob.
Yep.
So I guess I want to kind of get each of your thoughts on what are we looking at? Is this just some folks being edgy in the group chat? Is it really more foundational than that? Is it symbolic of a deep rot in the system? And is this an opportunity for growth potentially, or again, are we just going to see more doubling down?
It comes from the top, right? So if you've got your commander-in-chief for years now using names and slurs and vilification, you've basically given a green light. And I think what's happening is you have this younger generation of leaders being mentored in meanness and cruelty and downright racialized hatred. And because there's no guardrails on that, there's not a dignity of humanity that's coming from the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so in some respects, it's like they're an easy target for everybody to go, oh my God, look what they've said. But they're mimicking and mirroring the environment that they've been in. They've kind of grown up in this. And once again, they're the low-hanging fruit. And they're going to be crushed.
Right.
Does that actually change the way and the behavior of that party? I don't see it, because clearly, if they're being called woke, nope, now you're being woke if you actually try to acknowledge what you did or change ways. So.
Right.
I don't know how much of that is, real people online or, indicative of any widespread sentiment, or if it's just the trolls.
Yeah.
But are the folks who got outed here actually going to face any real long-term consequences? Maybe they get fired now, or they wind up right back recycled into the system here after this blows over, or is this a growing moment?
State senator did
resign. So
yeah. So that's one. I don't know if this is as firmly rooted in everybody's thoughts but it's just locker room talk. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. When the candidate Donald Trump was hot mic'd bragging about sexually assaulting women, and he could grab them by the pussy, he could do whatever he wanted because he was rich and famous. And then he got up in front of stage and he said, "I'm not proud of it. It's just locker room talk." And I expect that from Donald Trump, because this is no evolution of who he has shown himself to be as a lecherous, sexually aggressive and now proven rapist. But what I didn't expect when I heard that was the number of men that I know, the number of men in churches and conservative groups who have long preached morality above all else, character above all else, who kind of smirked and nodded. Yeah, it's locker room talk. And I want to know whose locker room you're in. And why aren't you the one saying, this is wrong? You can't talk like this. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I want to know who the men are you're with, that you're not saying, hey, what is wrong with you? Why are you talking like this? And if you've got a chat room full of people that are calling, that are using these racial epithets, that are invoking concentration camps, and everyone's in there snickering along, this is how bystander problems happen. This is how you get a group of people who are conditioned to stand aside when the truly horrific happens. And that fact that it's not being talked about like that by people as high up as the vice president, who, by the way, says, this is how kids talk. I want to see your chat logs, JD Vance, because if you say that, I know you're saying it in private, and I know you've been saying it in private. That's what this says to me. Nothing about everything about this says it is so systemic that they are comfortable with it and defending it in public. And we should be absolutely alarmed and ready to go full on the offensive about this.
Let's just play along and say, okay, well, they were just being edgy, really edgy, okay, in the group chat. Weren't they just a few weeks ago trying to get people canceled for edgy gallows humor?
Yep.
After the Charlie Kirk assassination, I know hypocrisy is dead. Like there's no logical consistency with these people, but man, my memory's not that short.
Right.
This just happened.
You mentioned hypocrisy, and immediately, like, my mind was, yeah, the hypocrisy runs deep. It runs deep, and that's the thing. The party of family values. There were no family values in that chat.
Yeah. Ethan, you mentioned it earlier that the Pentagon, old Secretary of War Drinky Pete Hegseth, issued this directive to all of the news organizations in the country, all of the major news organizations, and said, hey, you are not going to publish any information that is not pre-cleared by the Pentagon.
Right.
And within a couple days, news organizations, including the AP, Reuters, Washington Post, ABC, NBC, CBS, the usual suspects.
Right.
They're like, no, we're not going to sign on to this. We are not going to let the government dictate what we can and cannot print in our newspaper. That's censorship, right? I thought you were the free speech people. Now here is a glimmer of hope, because in addition to all of your mainstream news organizations that you would normally think of, Fox News said we're not going to sign on to this.
Yes.
Newsmax said we're not going to sign on to this. So even right-wing, far right-wing, really, news organizations are like, listen, no, you cannot have editorial control over what we print. And the Department of Defense, or Department of War, if that's what they want to call themselves, said, all right, everybody out. You can no longer maintain an office in the Pentagon, as has been done for ever, right? So what do you make of that? I think it's a good sign. Renee mentioned before she had to dip out, like, we have to point out, we have to call out when the other side does something good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fox News, Newsmax.
Yes.
Bravo. Congratulations. You're right this time.
Right. Absolutely. Without a doubt, this is a glimmer of the press doing something that the press should always be doing and backing each other, right? Like, there was a moment in the previous Trump administration where they I was Sean Spicer and it was other people would get up there and they would skip. Somebody would ask a question and they would not answer it and go to the next one. And they started doing a thing where the next reporter would just pick up the question of the person in front of them. And it was this really cool thing that happened where the press was like, nah, man, you can't just duck questions forever. You got to answer these seriously. Solidarity. This is really a low bar, but it's solidarity. And they're doing it for their bottom line. They're doing it because, like this is like, if they're going to get a hot story, they want to lead with that. And they're not going to handcuff themselves because the Pentagon is stressed about it. And and again, as an analogy, the other side does something good. I remember that President Obama went after more leaks and journalists for their sources than any president before him. Right. So this is not purely a left-right thing. The Democrats have been really bad on free speech and the press before. So I just want to throw that out there. But this coming from the Pentagon is unprecedented. Except in a time of actual war, like World War II, where they're like, you can't leak certain things because we're actually at war. This is merely a Fox News host who wants total control of the narrative. And he doesn't have the experience to lead. He doesn't have the character to be in charge of something like the Department of Defense. But what he can do is obsess over appearances and what stories run about him. And so, of course, this is what he does. And it is a good moment for our press that they en masse walked out.
Absolutely.
I want to interject too, though. I think y'all remember in the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Okay, and what was the name of the character who was whispering in the ear of the king?
Wormtongue,
right? So I honestly feel like the people that are closest to Trump, they make that character. And so
Gandalf the Grey approaches my lord. He is not welcome.
Yes.
Stephen Miller.
Stephen
Stephen Miller's totally. But here's the thing. Yes, and here's why though. Stephen Miller needs a media that is controlled, that is only showing what Trump is watching. Trump is living in his own deranged world. So when they show footage from several years back of buildings burning and then say, oh, that's Portland, I honestly think Trump truly believes in his mind that that is happening.
Yes.
And then you got Hegseth coming up and going, well, what should we do, sir? Release the Krakens.
Right.
And so what we're watching is this carefully orchestrated fake world that the highest leader in the world is sitting in, and it's frightening.
This is in the aftermath of the Kirk assassination a few weeks ago. The right blamed folks out here on the left, like us, for having cultivated this environment of political violence, right? By calling them Nazis, right? Because it's just a word without a meaning, right? It just means a thing I don't like. It means mean, nasty people. I don't like them. They're Nazis.
Should we change that to group chat?
Well, so again, no. Not Nazism, fascism, authoritarianism. These words do mean things, right?
Right.
And we see things like that group chat leaking. I love Hitler. Let's send people to the showers.
Yeah.
We call them Nazis because they do things like that. Because they say things like that when no one's looking. Yeah. Because they do things like they crack down on the honest flow of information from the government. Things like Haig said here. And because they do things like intimidate and look to invade foreign countries and without provocation.
And Todd Rokita will go on to get in front of, like I said earlier, and say that we should have to have one language and a single culture. And anyway, we're talking about invasions. Yes,
exactly.
That one language is going to be AI machine code.
Oh God.
Let me tell you, that's that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down right now.
Sorry.
But no, but, yeah. So listen, Venezuela. It appears we've been going slowly, walking down this road over the last several months. The Trump administration increases their rhetoric, designating Nicolas Maduro is like an international narco terrorist.
Yeah.
They offer a $50 million bounty on his head. Don't get me wrong, I'm no Nicolas Maduro fan, but every corrupt head of a foreign government, we can't go pick on them all. Why is it this guy? Well, Venezuela's sitting on a bunch of oil. So we've been sort of slowly marching toward war. It looks like you can see it happening.
Yeah.
For the words, the rhetoric, the terrorist designations. Then we start drone bombing fishing boats in the Caribbean, accusing them of being full of illicit narcotics destined for the United States. I say, okay, if true, fine, pull them over, confiscate their drugs, take them to court, send them to jail. I didn't know maintaining a well-stocked bachelor party was a capital offense.
Jesus Christ.
But you see further this week more escalation. We're learning now that CIA ops are ongoing in Venezuela. We learned this just the other day on the 15th. What's that? Wednesday?
Uh-huh.
What is time? But the president confirmed that the CIA is operating inside Venezuela alongside these naval strikes on these so-called drug smuggling vessels. We're into the dozens of people that have been extrajudicially murdered out of the air by the United States military.
Yes.
Obviously, Latin nations are condemning it. Venezuela's neighbors are condemning it. The sane people of the world are like, what are you doing? What are we doing, Michelle? Is it just all about the oil? Is it a culmination of
when you have a drive for data centers, for example, data centers need an amazing amount of energy. And that energy right now is being looked at as oil. And Venezuela has a large oil supply. And we now have friends in Qatar, and we've got friends in Saudi Arabia. We got friends like follow the oil, follow the money, follow who benefits from all of this. And I feel like it's easy to say drugs because I think we have been marinating in the drug war for my whole life. So that's a trigger. And we're all like, oh yeah, we're getting rid of the drug lords. No, it's we're taking over another country's resources.
Ethan.
Yeah.
It's Venezuela.
Yep.
Who cares?
So the reason Latin America is speaking up loud and angrily about this is because they have a longer memory than most U.S. citizens. It is difficult to keep track. It is difficult to keep track of the U.S.'s overreach into Central and South America over the last 60 years. But it is important to remember that, for example, in 1989, George H.W. Bush bombed Panama City and captured its president, Noriega. It resulted in many thousands of civilian casualties. It was unilaterally condemned by the UN and the rest of the world because it was about a disagreement with Noriega and his CIA handlers and the United States. And he is the only head of state to have been extradited and tried in a U.S. court. So Noriega, like Maduro, not here to defend Noriega. I'm saying that whenever Venezuela sees U.S. drones bombing their fishing vessels off their coast, they know what this is. When the U.S. even admits they have CIA operatives doing counter ops in their nation, they know what this is. And the rest of South America and Latin America knows exactly what this is, even if U.S. politicians want to pretend like they don't. And even if the average U.S. citizen has no idea. As the famous saying goes, if you want to sound absolutely crazy, just talk about two things that the CIA has fully declassified that they've done in the last 60 years. And people be like, that's impossible. We would never do that. It's like, literally in their own declassified documents. This is what the ugly side of U.S. militarism and imperialism has wrought. And we should absolutely say, hell no. Hell no. There are serious problems with Venezuela. This is how you get in another war. And Hoosiers, as well as the rest of the nation, are all done with overseas imperialism and militarism. This is not the way.
And it's like Michelle said, it's for oil, it's
Yeah.
for energy. You're seeing as climate change accelerates,
Yep.
the people with the investment in the energy, the oil now do not want to give up their grip on wealth and power. They will burn us all to a crisp as long as they can rule over our ashes. And these things like data centers are really putting a cramp on. We were on track to be reducing emissions if we had done things well, but now the increase.
So now we get to invade Venezuela instead.
This increased demand for energy has us using more oil and gas than ever before, and it's without end. And you see what used to be a sort of left-coded, maybe even environmentally friendly LOL industry like the tech industry. They've fully embraced their dark alliance with the energy industry, and it's almost the same thing now. They're essentially merged, and this is where techno fascism comes from, kids. If we stay on this road, so we gotta fight.
I'm more of
now.
a disco fascist myself.
Disco fascism?
Yeah, not really into the techno side of the genre.
That's good. That's good.
I don't like fascism.
Industrial house.
Don't try to pigeonhole me, man.
So last major U.S. story this week. We saw on Thursday that former U.S. ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, pictured here dressed for Halloween in his best Harlan Sanders costume, was indicted by the Trump administration for withholding and distributing classified information. Apparently, he leaked some classified stuff in the family group chat. Now, it's been said that anybody with a security clearance of some point has probably been guilty of sharing classified information illicitly. You remember Mike Pence? They a few years ago they found some documents in his office or something. There was the whole thing with like a folder of Joe Biden's garage or whatever, and these were, probably honest. I misplaced this document here or there, or where did I set that folder, sort of thing. Not great, but it happens when you have security clearance. But these were treated as somehow equivalent to Donald Trump's like boxes and boxes and boxes
posthumously declassified,
of highly classified information and nuclear secrets and God knows whatever else.
Right.
This
guy's carrying the football,
setting the shitter at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, so again, not the same.
Not the same.
Bolton, a political enemy of Trump. Now, this is a guy who goes back in prominence in recent U.S. politics to like the George W. Bush era.
He was there for the bombing of Panama.
He's a war hawk.
Yes,
he's always
in favor of the bombing of Panama.
If you look up neoconservative in the dictionary, there's John Bolton.
In his Harlan,
in his Colonel Sanders costume, right there,
as an age today,
bombing Iran and eating fried chicken. So, this is who John Bolton is. Not a liberal, not a leftist, but an opponent of Trump anyway. Now, and we've seen him and his administration go after other political enemies. They've recently indicted former FBI director James Comey. Again, not exactly a liberal. New York Attorney General Letitia James. They're going after federal Fed Board of Governors.
Yes.
Chair Lisa Cook. Made up stuff about mortgage fraud. All of the lawfare that they accused the Biden administration of doing when they were out of power. This is what they were doing. It's always a confession, right? Every accusation is a confession.
Yes.
So, so listen. Is Bolton worthy of indictment, I guess, or is this just another in a series of the witch hunt? Is my first question. and then I guess my second question, Michelle, was like, I don't know, if we'd died John Bolton 25 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, that's there is a part of me that I feel like with people like Bolton, it is a bit karma. So, but the bigger picture really is this pattern of coming after your political enemies.
Mhm.
And the thing that people often forget is that the pendulum swings, right? So you have one group in office and then the other group in office, and it just keeps escalating and escalating. And when does it end? And so um, it's like, no, I'm glad that we've got a judicial branch that is still kind of holding true and holding fast. But what this communicates, at least that I see even at a state level, is absolute fear of Republicans standing against him and saying no, because as soon as they become an enemy, it's not even just them. It's like it is their constituents. They're absolutely terrified of what funding is going to get removed. I mean, look what he's doing in blue states, and the reality is, Gavin Newsom, he's got money behind him in their infrastructure and all that, so they're going to be fine. Chicago going to be fine, but our rural counties in Indiana, not so much.
No.
It's always, Ethan, with these authoritarian regimes or authoritarian wannabe regimes, like the Trump administration. They always kind of go after their own first.
Right.
That is a hallmark of when these
right.
When the
strong
keep saying regime, I'm looking for another synonym, but
yes.
When these authoritarian movements consolidate power,
yes,
they need to purify their own ranks.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. For those of us that enjoy the Old Testament, the shibboleth, right? It's the testing to make sure that you say things right. The demand for utter loyalty above all else is what should alarm everyone, right? This is not a left or right issue. This is not a liberal conservative issue. Ideological purity tests within the federal government should alarm everyone. And I mean, and yes, you can find micro versions or even mid-sized versions of this throughout American history. This is not Trump is not creative enough to reinvent anything. But what this is at a huge scale, involving massive purging, people taking lie detector tests, within the Pentagon and within the FBI. Like this is a level of reshuffling the deck at the highest levels of authority that should alarm everyone, especially anybody. Speaking of South America again, like Chile, before it fell to Augusto Pinochet, the horrific dictator who was backed by the CIA. What they had to do was reshuffle the deck in the military leadership, and then once they had the deck reshuffled the military leadership, then it was okay to go after their political opponents, and ultimately they killed elected president Salvador Allende, and then they were clear to sweep for their new party. So anytime you see a reshuffling of the deck, it has to be an ideological purity test top to bottom, and it's pass fail. You are either absolutely are loyal or you're out. These are 5 alarm fires.
It's interesting that you brought up Chile, because when we talk about the kind of flavor of Trump authoritarianism, and listen, don't take this the wrong way. The Nazis are sexy, right? Because they did the thing really big. And World War II.
And they had Hugo Boss.
Yes, also that Hugo Boss, Coco Chanel, all the best fashion were Nazis. Deeply disturbing history there. But anyway, they're the fascists that everybody knows. So
right.
it's a touchstone
absolutely
comparison.
Impeccable aesthetic. Yes.
But Chile or maybe Franco's Spain is probably a more accurate comparison to the kind of fascism that you're seeing under Trump.
Yeah.
It's not gas chambers. It's one-way helicopter rides.
Right.
Right. Like you said, that was a CIA-sponsored coup because the U.S. wanted to maintain control and influence in that region. Pinochet ruled Chile with an iron fist for 25 years. They're still digging out from under that. He's been gone since the late 90s, but they're still operating under that constitution and trying to get a new one passed, and they can't. Those old divisions are there, and America had something to do with it. Who cares? We do. That was us. Last thing I want to talk about this week before we get going here. So yesterday, where'd they go? Yesterday, nationwide, No Kings rallies all over the country. We saw at least 7 million people is the last number I saw. At least 60,000 across Indiana. Again, maybe bigger numbers. I'm sure those are still pouring in. That would make yesterday the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. Okay. Beautiful. Thoughts on yesterday in and of itself, in the moment? You were there. You were both at multiple sites.
Where were you at?
I started the morning here. Scott and Renee and the people of Salem, Indiana, and that was awesome. Had a great turnout. Shook hands with the T-Rex that some guy in my Facebook comments was really mad at me for. He's like, "You're shaking hands with the T-Rex." I'm like, it wasn't actually a T-Rex. It was a person. I understand if you hate Halloween, but a lot of people wear costumes on this time of year. It's fun. You should try it. But yeah, I was in Salem in the morning, and then we got to Corydon in the afternoon, and then we finished the day in Jeffersonville. And at every place, we saw bigger turnouts than I'd ever seen before. I know Corydon had about 300 last No Kings. They had 550 yesterday. Amazing. People are so shook that you are watching people try to rationalize how this could happen in Harrison County. You are watching the other side be like, well, it's clearly coming from Louisville. It's like Louisville had 3 No Kings rallies yesterday, buddy. Nobody came from Louisville to Harrison County. Like this, and like because the zeitgeist is so strong, the propaganda is so strong, but it's like this is a few radical outliers, and then it's being like Indiana's a purple state, dog. We just had a lot of voter suppression and a lot of loss of faith in the political process. And in Jeffersonville, I haven't seen the final numbers on that. They were trying so hard to estimate the crowd because it was really big. It was definitely between 1,000 and 2,000 people over the course of the day.
I've seen at least 2,000 for Jeffersonville, probably closer to 25.
I got to give a speech at Jeffersonville, and it was electric. People were so pumped. They were so ready to see their neighbors coming out, see how many of the neighbors coming out. The amount of honking was cacophonous. And I mean, people are ready for change, and not just like, let's swing the pendulum back the other way. Yeah. And returning to my analogy from earlier, let's not grab the bike pump and keep trying to put air in this leaky tire. Let's do a new thing. Let's rebuild this. Let's actually fix our healthcare, our housing, and get America back on track.
Okay.
Where were you yesterday?
I want to sort of transition to Michelle by asking you about that. Yesterday, very inspiring. Good to see all these people come out, join together in solidarity, shared humanity, just be together in the same space. Great, but is this just like a big
feel good party?
Yeah, like a orgasm of dissent, or is this the beginning of something? Right, like this can't end yesterday. You can't just roll over and go to bed after that. Now it's time to get into it.
Right.
So where you were at, were people like, all right, now what? Where's the next step? How do we get involved? Or is it just like we're here for a party?
Yeah. No, there was that. I'll be honest. So we had a small group of about 25 people in Martinsville, Indiana.
Come on.
Indiana. And it was really cool because I had planned a speech for speaking in Nashville, and then we decided, we're gonna do something small in Martinsville. And so then I asked the group there, I'm like, are you guys okay if I test out my speech here? And they're like, yeah. And it was literally reading the letter in our Declaration of Independence to King George. And
Michelle.
and y'all, it's like, if you have not read that, it is like a checklist of where we're at now. It is sobering. It is sobering. And so I'm standing outside of
Hell
the
yeah.
new admin building, and we've got somebody in a lobster costume and just signs up and everything. And cars are going by and they're honking at us. But you're watching kind of real-time cognitive dissonance. And here's why it's important. I don't care whether there was 5 people or 5,000 people. The more communities that had a presence of regular people
Yep.
out there with signs, in costumes, being silly, being joyful, but also being determined to speak truth to power.
Yep.
When people go by and they see that, it does not match the rhetoric that is coming from the White House, from the Republican leadership right now that are pushing terrorists and fear.
Yep.
And I was watching people's face being confused, and it's almost like you're seeing the Matrix glitch.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And my daughter even said, she goes, because she was with me in Martinsville, she goes, Mom, when you were saying your speech, across the street was a gentleman probably in his 50s. And he was walking by and he stopped and he was kind of scowling at the group. And then you started talking and you're speaking the Declaration of Independence. And he is stopping and he's listening and he's leaning in. And by the end, she goes, I waved to him and he waved back and gave a thumbs up and walked on.
Woo!
So to me, that was my favorite win of the day.
That's awesome.
I then went to Nashville and I spoke there with also Amy Oliver, who's running for House District 62. And
Fight 60-second. Yeah.
yeah, we're partners. And so what was really cool there was we weren't on the main street. If you're familiar with Nashville, there's like this one main street, lots of people. This is October, like this is high season for tourism there. We were more towards a pavilion area about a couple of blocks back. But it was really perfect because we had access to 4 corners.
Yeah.
So people driving all the way were seeing just this. It felt more like you were embedded in the community instead of just in a park or around a state capitol.
Yeah.
That was a different vibe altogether. And then the last one was in Bloomington. And when I got there, I was not on the list to speak because they had so many people at that one. And so it was crushing the crowds. There's one moment where like I literally cannot move.
Yeah.
And then next to the courthouse, there's kind of this stage area that we've used it before, but it was not being used for the speakers. And so a few people were standing on the steps watching, but behind that was all empty. So I got into that kind of corner and I'm like, okay, this is the introvert space right here. But I could see everything. And then one of the county council members happened to come by and we were talking and he's like, oh, I'm headed up to take an aerial photo. And I'm like, oh, could I follow you? And so we went up there and he let me take a picture out the window of the crowd. And I'll be honest, that was kind of like, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see what it looked like. And there were thousands of people and it was, but again, people in the costumes, people with the signs, we had mutual aid tents up. And I think to your question though, of what do we do after this? My biggest concern is that this is the euphoria that people feel. And then they go back to business as usual. And every single thing here has to translate into electoral work.
That's right.
And so if you're not working on Ethan's campaign or my campaign or other candidates' campaigns, we can't make a change in the policies. And I'll be honest, I do not want to have another No King's Day. I want to have changed policies.
That's right.
And move things
Can I say one more thing about
Absolutely.
that? That something that I said yesterday was that we have to remember that dignity and liberty have never been handed down by the powerful. They have been won when the people organize. That's how we got the weekend. It's how women got the vote. It's how our Black American neighbors marched for civil rights. Like, it doesn't happen unless we work just as hard as the people that are trying to crush us and protect billionaires. And so, I mean, I talked to 5 people yesterday that were like, do I have a county party? And I'm like, my dear siblings in Christ, you absolutely do. Here, find them on Facebook. Look them up here. Find your candidates. Like, know who your district is. you have been under a system of propaganda that seeks to demoralize you into believing you are isolated and that you are powerless. And both of those things are lies. You are surrounded by neighbors who share your values. And even the ones that don't share your values have common hopes for the future that you can build bridges with. And whenever that comes fully conscious in our neighborhoods, we can change things. What we saw yesterday, what we saw in all these rallies was power. It's what power looks like when people activate, realize they're surrounded by people who care and agree with them, and they're ready to make change. We can do this.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to see events like yesterday are an important checkpoint on that road. It demonstrates that there are so many of us that we're not alone, that there are others out there, and that can give you courage to take that next step, maybe get a little bit more uncomfortable. We got to get going here. But
one last thing on that though. So I have a lot of friends that live out in Los Angeles, right? And one of the things that I hear back too is when they see states like Indiana rise up across multiple cities, not just Indianapolis, but across the whole state, they are so encouraged.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We need that multi-state feedback and cross-pollination too. So
let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't we get going? I want to give you both a chance to pitch yourselves, tell people where they can find you, maybe solicit a little bit of campaign donation or whatever if you're so inclined before we hit the road. Michelle, why don't you go first here?
So I can be found at voteformichellehiggs.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram, Michelle Higgs HD60. If you live in Monroe, Morgan, Johnson counties, we'd love to hear from you. And also, if you're interested in just the rural organizing that I'm doing with Ethan and everybody else, that is the IndianaRuralSummit.org. And if you are interested in finding about other organizations and how you can plug into other bigger things, go to organizingindiana.org.
Yeah, if, for example, you know somebody who wants to help the state of Indiana and maybe has access to somebody who can just drop $300,000 into your bank account, maybe Michelle Higgs and the Indiana Rural Summit would be a good place to invest that.
Don't send your money out of state. Don't send your money out of state. Send it to Indiana. If you don't know, go to Indiana Rural Summit.
Or if you're from out of state and know people in Indiana and want to help Indiana.
Yeah, that rule is just for Hoosiers. If you're in another state, feel free to donate in.
But you know who else needs a lot of help in his campaign too?
Yes, I am Stephen May. I'm running for state senate in District 47, which is all of Washington, Harrison, and nearly all of Floyd counties. We were working Harvest Homecoming last week, and over the course of the weekend, we had about a dozen people come into our booth and ask how to change parties, which by county leadership, district leadership, that doesn't happen at a festival. Now, Indiana has open primaries, so it's not how it works. If you want to associate with a party, all you got to do is walk into the primary, ask for the ballot of your choice. Boom, that's your party now. So we explained to people, but just the impetus alone was hugely encouraging. People do not want the federal government putting troops in the streets against the will of governors, against the will of mayors. They do not want this, and they are looking for people who can deliver another vision for America and follow through on promises to the working class that have been consistently broken, like affordable housing, affordable health care, and good jobs. That's what we're here to fight for. You can find me at ethanforstatesenate.com. Those are all actual words, no numbers, ethanforstatesenate.com. And I am on the plethora of socials, except for Blue Sky. I'm sorry, somebody asked about that. I haven't done it. I need to do it. I'm not on Blue Sky.
I'm going to do it today.
I'm going to do it today.
Sure of it.
I'm probably not going to do it today.
All right.
Actually, Scott's pretty scary.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Well, that's going to be it. Thanks to Ethan. Thanks to Michelle. Thanks to Renee, who's off camera, but still with us here nearby. Me, I am Scott Aaron Rogers. You can find me at whosleft.us. Be sure to like and subscribe over there and all that stuff. Also, hey, Project Next, thanks for hosting this here little shindig. Follow us at Project Next Movement on most of the socials. Until next time, My name is Scott Aaron Rogers. We'll see you next week. Love each other, Indiana.
That was